Hey guys, so been a long time since I've done a vlog, and I've been working on one for a while, but I just never did get it where I want it. So I'm going to try it yet again. Let's see if we get one. So this vlog is mainly focused on, actually entirely focused on this. This is a Eachine QX70, and if you've looked at the Eachine QX70 before, you're going to notice quite a bit of differences between this one and a stock Eachine QX70. So I wanted to kind of go over those things, what I've done, and kind of the reasons behind it. So when I got it stock, it has these little yellow four-bladed props on here, and I've already tossed them, I think. Let me see. No, I'll still go. All right, let me get those out here, and I can kind of show you the progression of what I did as well. So it comes with these little props. Here they are, and this is what they look like, and they look okay on initial inspection. But when you go to fly these, it has no lift, and it just doesn't fly well at all. It falls back down to its prop wash all the time. It just does not fly well at all. Kind of a miserable experience. And so when I got that, I was very disappointed with it. And I'd read the reviews and said that it didn't fly well and do these few things, but I didn't realize just how bad it really was. So it's pretty bad. So these things, toss them. So first thing I tried was to get some tri-blade props, and I used another video and used their recommendation and cut them down, and this is the ones that I got here, and this one's been cut down a little bit, so it fits in there. And these gave it some lift, and I thought it was going to work well, but the problem with these, the little hole's just a wee bit big, and so it doesn't stay on, and they have a tendency to fly off. So I was trying to super glue props onto metal shafts. That doesn't work very well either. So these props got ditched. So then, but while I had those props on, because it felt better, I was trying a bunch of other things. So one of the first things that I did was I removed the light bar, and we'll get to why my light bar is in the front here in a minute. But so the light bar's gone. Didn't need that. I'm flying this thing FPV. I care less what the lights are. They're all pretty and stuff, and I'll play with them for a little while. You can do some fun stuff with it in Betaflight, and you can do some new stuff with it, and it looks cool. And it's just dead weight because I don't really need it. So remove that. Another thing I did was replaced the stock video transmitter antenna here with this little dipole, and this reduces the weight down quite a bit. It's a lot more durable. Signal wise, it's just fine. I haven't really had any issues with that. So did that, and by this time I had broken the frame many times and repaired it many times, and so it was still flying, but not as well as it could. But around that time I got these props here. These are Raycon Heli tri-blades, 40mm, and I had to trim them just ever so slightly so they fit in there nicely, mainly because the other frame was kind of bent up. These probably would fit just fine in this frame without trimming, most likely, but the other frame had gotten bent up and beat up. And I tried wrapping a rubber band around the outer part of it here to stiffen it up, and that did stiffen it up, but it would cause these ducts to kind of squeeze in a little bit, and it was just a mess. So I decided to buy a couple new frames just to have on hand. And when I got the new frame in, the first thing that I did was decided to stiffen it up. And at the advice of a friend from the local hobby store, he suggested I get some Loctite Flex and Seal Bond stuff and put on the joints there. I couldn't find that, but I did find DAP Flex, Dynaflex, 270, 230, 230. I still got that here. So here's what I ended up using, the Betaflight 230 from DAP. And so before I put any motors back in it, before I did anything, I applied that stuff to every single joint, and you can see it in there. And it's kind of discolored because I was flying at the barn not long after this, and some of the dust kind of adhered to it before it was all the way fully cured. So it's got a little bit of a dirty tinge to it, but I really don't care. It's all right. It holds, and this thing has been beat. I have ran into swing sets, the metal bars, and banged and bounced off of them, bounced off the ground numerous times, and it's still in one piece, not even a crack. So that works. So I did that, replaced the propellers, and now it's flying pretty good. But then I did one other thing. So the stock battery, I get the right one here, is this that it comes with. It's a one cell 600 milliamp battery, and it's kind of heavy, kind of big, and it's just dead weight. So I got these, which are Tattoo 380 milliamp, and I get several minutes of flight time out of this. Probably as long as the other, because the other's still with extra weight there for no reason. So I definitely get plenty of flight time out of these. At least 3 minutes, maybe 4 minutes. I don't know. I haven't really timed it yet. Plenty of punch, plenty of power. So I used these. So with this and the new props and getting rid of the LED light bar and the antenna replacement here, the weight all up with the battery included is 47 grams. Stock is 55 grams, so we're 8 grams lighter. Now, a couple of things here that I've done, and I'll get to that a little bit when I go through the configuration on Betaflight, but I'll flip this around. So I wanted this to come out the front, and I wanted my antenna for the receiver to come out the back. And I've got a little DAP there kind of holding it in place too, so it doesn't come up and go over to get into the props. And this helps with reception. This one has a tendency to drop reception because so I had to desolder this as well. So I desoldered the antenna that was on there. Well, I didn't really desolder it. It fell off. Again, quality problem. And I put a new one on. This is from an old receiver from my Devo 7. So I just took some of the cable there off of it and soldered that to that and pointed it out. And the reception's much, 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 much better. And more dropouts. I can fly all around the house with no problems now. Before I was dropping out just random spots through the house for no reason. That was no fun. And if you've seen some of the videos that I've put out with this, you will have seen that. That was before I fixed it. You would see the random dropouts. So yeah, that's all good now. And then the wrench, so I took the LED bar off, flipped this around, and put that out the back. And when I did that, of course, the motors, I didn't want to have to change the motors where they plugged in at. So flip the board 180 in the board configuration in Betaflight, and you'll see that. And then did a custom motor mix, so I could flip this motor with this motor, this motor with this motor, this one, and basically it'll fly fine now, and all normal. So with all those changes, this thing flies really good, and I will show you some footage here at the end. But let's go through the configuration now. And I'm going to go through how I've got this thing configured. It's a bit different than stock. Stock, it comes with clean flight, so one of the first things I did was to flash that with Betaflight running 3.0.1. I know that 3.1 is out, but at the time I did this, it was 3.0.1, and I really don't have a need to upgrade it at this time, so I'm going to leave it. So it's 3.0.1, and I'm connected to a FreeSky receiver. So on the ports here, you'll see that I've got serial RX there. for that. That's on 2. And of course, we're connected to this through Betaflight on the USB VCP. This is fairly standard. You'll notice there's no telemetry because this board doesn't support telemetry, unfortunately. I wish it did. At least RSSI I wish it did, but it doesn't. So configuration, this will be where you'll start seeing some differences here. First, you'll notice the mixer here is custom, and we'll get to that here in a minute, and the reason why I did that. And the same thing for the board alignment. I've got it flipped 180. And I'll get to this here in just a minute. So first off, it's brushed. I don't do motor stop. So when it's armed, the motors are spinning. That's the safest thing to do. I don't care even if it is this tiny thing. It's the safest thing to do. It's the most sane thing to do. So no motor stop. And I disarm the motors regardless of what throttle is when you flip the arm switch back to disarm. Minimum throttle is 1020. That works pretty well for these motors here. Any higher and it kind of wants to take off, and we'll get to describing all of that stuff here in a bit. Maximum throttle 2000 of course, and minimum command is 1000. That's pretty typical. No VBAC because, like I said, there's no telemetry on this thing. No current sensor, obviously. No RSSI, none of that. For the system configuration, this is running an F3 board, so I've got this configured as 8 kilohertz on the gyro update and 4 kilohertz on the PID loop, and that leaves the load down here at 15%, which is really good. You could probably go a little higher, but I don't really see a reason to. I think if you try to up this to 8, it's going to put the CPU load way too high. So this is pretty good. Of course, there's no GPS, and I'm not dealing with 3D. So I don't really care about that. And the only other thing I have is air mode, and it's enabled by default. So that is that. PID tuning, everybody's favorite thing. I started with the defaults from Betaflight. Flew terrible. Tried tinkering a little bit. Still flew terrible. Came across a couple different people who were flying little micros here. Still was one of them. Another fellow, I don't know what his name was. I just came across a video, and I noticed that they had upped their values quite a bit. So I started there, and that helped quite a bit. It was much better, but then I upped them even more. So for roll, I've got 90 on P, and pitch I've got 90, and yaw I've got 190. And for I, I've got 35, 35, and 45, and that works really well. And the derivative I have at 44. I left the rates here alone as stock. Originally, when I first started messing with it, I put them on the same rates that I have for my my QAVX, and it was just a bit too touchy. So I dialed those back just to the defaults, and I dialed in a bunch of Expo, which I don't use on my QAVX, and it flies much better. It feels much better to me inside when I'm flying it. So these things are pretty touchy, so this helps quite a bit with that. Of course, throttle mid is 0.50. I don't have throttle expo. I don't understand the reasoning for that. Again, TPA is a stock, and all of the filter settings are all stock Betaflight 301 settings. Receiver, like I said, it's a Tyrannus Free Sky, so TAER 1234. You know, fairly standard. I don't have the radio on right now, so that's why these look like this. And modes, I don't have modes, just arming. That's it. There's no reason for any of the others. I don't understand why anybody would want to fly with the others. Once you get used to this, it's much easier to fly it without any self-leveling or any of that. So that's just my opinion. Others may disagree. I may get some hate mail from it. I don't care. Fly this way, you'll be much happier. I've done the other, and trust me, it's much better if you just turn off, you know, all the little help stuff, you know, unless you're flying a Phantom and doing, you know, just slow aerial photography. There's no reason for any of the self-leveling or any of that assisting stuff. Motors, of course, there's something here to see. And CLI. So for the mixer, I am running a custom mixer. So if we go take a look at that, you will see here what I've done. Basically, I took the quad X mixer, which is the default, and I flipped 1 and 4 and 2 and 3. And the reason that I did that, and the reason that I put the 180 degrees on the configuration here is, yeah, disconnected me. Connect back here. The reason that I did that is I wanted the antenna to come straight out of the back, and I wanted the power connection to be on the front because it just makes more sense. Mainly I wanted the receiver antenna to come out the back because this thing has a tendency to have a problem with reception. That's one of the downsides, and since doing this I've not had any issues with reception whatsoever. So basically I left the board in place just as it was, left the motors connected just as they were, and then I took the screws out for the camera, flipped it around, put it back down, and then flipped the board 180, and I did a custom motor mix so that 1 is the right rear and 4 is the left front again, and by doing that it flies and it puts the antenna out the back, which is much better, and I can have it secured to the back. And I've got my battery connection out the front, and it just kind of works a whole lot better. It keeps the battery in place better. Everything's just a whole lot better. So that's the reason that I did that. You don't have to do that, but I found that it works really well. It's much more durable that way, and the reception is much better that way. So that's basically what I did there. And if you want to look at that, you can go back here and look at the video and pause it there and take a look at the output there from the CLI on the mixer, on the custom mixer, if you want to do that. And if you don't, you can fly it the other way. It flies. I just like it this way better. So that's basically the gist on how I've got it set up in Betaflight. And like I said, it flies really, really well. You'll see that in some of the footage here. I've been flying it around the house and flew it over my in-laws today. And all of that works exceptionally well. And I'm very, very, very happy with the results. And I think you will too.
Aside from my soul, there goes a sight, now there goes a sight from my soul, there goes a sight from my soul, there goes a sight, there goes a sight, there goes a sight from my soul. I think a fall angel just walked by. 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 There goes a sight from my soul. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my there goes a sight. There goes a sight, there goes a sight. Now there goes a sight from my soul. I think it's all angels just walk by. There goes a sight from my soul.
So there you have it. There's the QX70, kind of my review of it. If I was going to suggest someone get one of these little tiny whoops, this would not be it. But if you go through and make all the changes that I've made to it, I would highly recommend it. Now I've got another one here that I also bought while I was doing all this stuff. This is the Maker Fire Micro FPV, and it flies pretty good, but it does not fly anywhere near as good as this one does now. This one flew much better than this one here did when I got it stock. So this one stock is far better than this one stock. This one with my mods blows this one away. Now, I don't know what you can do about the weight on this one. You have to replace the frame. It's kind of heavy, all up weight, battery and all, and it's running on a little 6mm. You can see it's a lot smaller. Running a little 6mm motors is like 29 grams, which is way too heavy. It needs to be about 4 to 5 grams lighter than that, all up with the battery and all. But it's nowhere near that. It'll fly good, you know, but not. It doesn't have the same punch that this one does. It doesn't recover as well as this one does. So this one's good if you wanted to start out, but I really probably wouldn't recommend this one either. If I was going to recommend someone getting a Tiny Whoop, it would be to go to tinywhoop.com and buy one from them, because they know what they're doing and they've got all the right pieces, and you'll get a really good experience. But all that said, if you wanted the QX70 and you like to build and tinker, and I kind of do, then this is pretty fun, and it flies really, really well, as you saw. So not recommended stock, but definitely recommend it after you've made kind of all the mods and stuff that I've made to it. It flies really good. Definitely would recommend it that way. Hope you guys enjoyed this little tidbit. Maybe you learned something, and if this is your first time here, click that subscribe button. Like the video, and we'll try to do some more of this kind of stuff in the future with kind of reviews and go through configurations and that kind of thing. So if you like it, let me know, and if not, let me know that too. And as always, keep flying.
There goes a sight from my soul.